So let's jump from indoor environment to the community scale to the outside of our world. And I'm happy to present you the activities of the working group on cities and communities. Latest since the Paris Agreement, it's quite clear that decarbonization of our energy and mobility system is has to happen, and quite soon. And secondly, it became quite obvious that cities will play a very important role in this decarbonization. Why is that? As you can see this figure, around 2/3 of the worldwide CO2 emissions are related to urban scale on the one hand side, and secondly, on the right hand side of the graph, you see different suggestions of CO2 reduction potentials. And again, when you have a look at that, you see in the sectors of building, transport or mobility, and power and heat is relevant, and these are sectors which are relevant for cities also. So again, also for the reduction potential, cities will be very important. But even if it's clear that cities are at the heart of decarbonization efforts, we often realize that decarbonization is not yet a top priority theme in cities. When you're working with cities, you see that there are other topics at the moment. It's the COVID crisis, but social aspects, affordable living, or other themes which have a higher priority, and we compete with these priorities. We have to be clear on that. Also, we have to work on this decarbonization, and it's without any alternative. Secondly, it's rather unclear how to approach how to achieve the decarbonization, and how to approach decarbonization efforts. There are different technologies, different strategies which could be done, and for cities it's not so easy to decide between these different approaches what's the best for them. So it's a very complex task, and very complex also in the discussion and decision making, and later on in implementation. And it's not only an issue of technology, it's an issue also of behavior. It's an issue of which kind of instruments we have, and it's an issue of financial resources and the calculation of co-benefits also, not only the cost of decarbonization. So a lot of things which has to be in mind when talking about decarbonization on a city scale. So it was also stated in the energy technology perspectives in 2016 that mobilizing the urban sustainable energy potential requires a strong support from national governments and local policymakers. And that was one of the reasons why the working group was launched 3 years ago, almost, with the aim to provide a structure within the IEA frameworks for information experience exchange on community scale and decarbonization issues on community scale, to identify bottlenecks, to identify specific research questions which could be brought back to the different TCPs, to directly communicate with cities, to learn from their needs, which was done on a national scale in the working group, and to support the system integration of technologies, because cities do not ask for a certain technology, they ask for a system or a technology strategy, a bundle of technologies which help them to decarbonize their energy system. And within this working group, around 60 experts were involved, 13 countries. It was running for 3 years, so now in the last year moment, it will not be extended. We had several workshops, discussion, exchanges, and identified 3 priorities. One is about technologies, that's the core, of course, technologies for decarbonization. But secondly, also we discussed strategies for planning and for integrated planning. We had a look on planning procedures in cities. And thirdly, we had a subgroup on these data tools and methods. This is a toolkit which helps the cities to implement decarbonization technologies. With the following slides, I will give you a short insight on what we have done. Of course, I cannot present everything, and you can get more information on the final report. I will show you later on. So first of all, we started with an analysis on the city's needs, which means first we discussed what are the cities. The city is the city administration, the government, but there are the politics, but there are a lot of other stakeholders involved in the cities which are relevant, and we try to identify them as an input for the second step, where we looked on each of these relations, the administration to research institutes, for example, or all the other stakeholders, where we try to identify challenges and group them. So, for example, working with research institutes is sometimes challenging for cities when because the funding schemes for research are often not so implementation oriented. There are some restrictions for cities to participate in research projects and so on. We had identified challenges in the framing conditions and communication. So we try to identify these challenges for each of these relations in order to be able to identify potential approaches to how to overcome these challenges. When talking about funding participation in consultation process, when funding programs are defined, could be a solution. Also to install interfaces between funding agencies and cities to better hear and understand the cities' needs of special situation, for example. So we did that exercise for all of these stakeholders and relationships, which can be read then in a report which has already been finished. And then we had this discussion in the three subgroups, and just to highlight a few things, beginning with the first subgroup of technologies. I think it's quite obvious that decarbonization technologies are available. So even in the IEA activities and TCPs, you have a lot of technologies which contribute, but for the cities and for the challenges in the cities, a high attention is put on heating and cooling systems, because they are very localized. So cities deal with decarbonization for heating system, cooling systems on a local scale, whereas the technology for producing green electricity has not necessarily to do only with the city scale, but also with a national framework or international European frameworks, for example. And secondly, the development of technology systems is not just a matter of research and technologies. I think there's a lot of research and it's necessary, but it needs also to include non-technological aspect, legal framework conditions, the spatial planning regulations, social aspects. So there are a lot of other issues which are not treated as much in research. That was one finding. And the second finding was that the exchange we had within the cities, but also within the different countries, we could see that this exchange on what cities are discussing, which options are discussed, which benefits, which challenges are discussed, is very helpful for all of the decision makers in that case. The challenges for cities require also appropriate strategies, integrated and transformational planning at city scale. For us, it became quite obvious in the working group that there is a necessity for creating a vision and a goal in the cities in order to change the organizational structure in the long-term run. But the depending question is, how do the integrated planning processes in the cities that are different in each city, from each country, fit between this vision? The goal must be clear, and the transformations which should take place. So all the stages of formalized processes are necessary to change, and once it's clear that there's a strong goal, committed goal in the city, and the transformation should happen, you will discuss about these planning processes, and you will discuss the need to change the current planning processes in order to fulfill the criteria or the requirements of decarbonization. And thirdly, the correct selection of use of best available data tools are key aspects for development of suitable strategies, integrated planning approaches, decarbonization, decision-making processes in cities, and the selection of the most suitable technologies. There is already a lot of research on data in different annexes and tasks in the different TCPs. So a lot of information is there. When we talking about the cities, we also identified some gaps in research questions, which was asked by the cities. But to identify the most suitable selection processes to support planning and implementation and ways of integrating knowledge in the existing planning process, which is a translation of information, is really missing, and we have to work on that. And finally, we concluded some lessons learned with a lot of questions which could not be answered yet by this working group because there are so many questions there. But you will find all this information in the final report, which is on the website, will be on the website quite soon, by the end of the year. You can find the link there. But as it was clear that there are much more questions which cannot be handled by the group only, the group decided to work out a proposal for a new TCP within the IE framework, which aims on provide with scientific evidence-based support, recommendations, and information to support the cities in their decarbonization efforts, and to also build an international forum for research and knowledge exchange between TCPs, but also between TCPs and practitioners in cities. We made a structure for that with a strong secretary, of course, and a strong involvement of different TCPs on the one hand side and the cities on the other hand side. And secondly, we also had already defined first annexes, potential annexes. As you can see on the graphics, it's not only about technologies, it's about spatial planning, it's about system integration, it's about financing. So a lot of other aspects where annexes already have been identified or described. So what is the status of discussion now? The necessary documents are available, which is a strategic plan for the TCP, and also the program of work for the first phase of this new TCP. It has been elaborated and discussed also with the legal office of the IEA. And at the moment, we are planning a web meeting of representatives of interested countries, third members of different countries, invited by the Austrian Ministry, to clarify the national positions of interested countries who want to join or launch this new TCP, discuss the next steps to launch this TCP, and therefore develop a joint proposal for this third. This commission will be in the spring time. So things are going on. So if you, as a participant of this meeting, are interested in this new TCP, your representative of ministry or are interested in that, have close contact to your ministry, please let me know, write me an email or call me. We can arrange that you will receive an invitation also for this planned meeting to discuss the next steps. Thank you very much.